May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be always acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. I invite you to be seated. Julie told me this was a first Sunday, and it was also a Sunday when we did a youth homily. So I'd like to invite those young people who would like to come up and join me up here to do so. You are welcome. Hi. How are you? Good. Good morning. Hi. Wait until we all gather. Oh, let me get my stuff. I always have stuff. All right, if I sit down here? Okay. Y'all can see me? Sorta? Okay. Well, you can call me Al. That's a nice song piece. Pastor Al. Pastor Julie and I actually used to work together at one time years ago when I was in charge of a church in Canandaigua. So she asked me if I would come here and be with you today. Well, I want to tell you a little bit about what's going to happen in a couple of days. Let's see, on Tuesday, to be exact. Around the world, on Tuesday is going to be a very special day for a lot of people. We don't really think about that here. What's the special day that's coming here at the end of near the end of the month? Yes. Christmas. That's right. That's right. Does anybody know what might be happening on Tuesday? What's that? God's birthday. Okay. Do you know what they might call it in another place? No. Okay. December 6th is the feast of Saint Nicholas. We have changed that name to Santa Claus. That's right. That's right. But all around the world, people are remembering Saint Nicholas. Now, I have something here. Mostly the little kids would like this, but this is a puppet that we got years ago in Germany, and it is a really cool puppet, if I can make it work. And we always see, that's why I wanted you all to see that. The bishop has come. Honor the bishop. Hello, hello, hello. And this bishop, he's got his little crozier or his little staff in his hand, and he has his bishop's hat and robes on, and he does look like Santa Claus, doesn't he? Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is a Saint Nicholas puppet, and all around the world, in other places, they remember Saint Nicholas on December 6th. A lot of kids receive their gifts on December 6th. Wouldn't you like to speed that one up? Yeah. So here he is, says hi, and we'll pass him around so you can look at him. If you want to put him on, go ahead. Now, I just want to show you another picture here that you can pass around. This is a picture. I'm going to hold it up. You really can't probably see it very much there. It's pretty light. But it's more of a Santa Claus-y look because of his beard being longer. And it says St. Nicholas, and underneath St. Nicholas, it says the word Myra, M-Y-R-A. Do you know Bishop Singh, our bishop in this diocese? He's the bishop of Rochester, New York, and actually the Diocese of Rochester. St. Nicholas became a bishop at a very, very young age. He was still a boy when he became a bishop. And he became bishop of a place called Myra, M-Y-R-A. Myra is in the present country of Turkey. So he was bishop of Myra. And I want to tell you a little bit about him today because he's an interesting guy. Now this is, it's not a mitre, but you look at it when you stand it straight up, and it does look like a mitre, like what the bishop has on, almost, except for the little furry ball on the end of it. So, let me tell you about myself. I am Nicholas, Bishop of Myra. Would you like to know what happened to me and some of my story? Well, thank you. I'm glad you said yes. Because it would have been a very sad ending at that point. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Nicholas. There are 3 stories about Nicholas and what he did and how he was a great man. And most importantly, he was a friend of God. He really loved God in his heart. And he believed from a very early age that it was more important to give than to receive. To give something rather than get something. And so that's kind of how we get this whole season of St. Nicholas and Santa Claus. Giving of gifts. Well, once there was near Myra a man who was a nobleman. He was a very high official of the country. But he had no money. He had no fortune. And he had 3 lovely daughters. And without any money, the father could not give his daughters any money for weddings. And in those days, you had to do that. It was called a dowry. Did you all see that over there? Okay. Why don't we pass that out for the older children out there in the congregation, if you want to pass that back there. They may want to see. So, without a dowry, without that kind of money, no man would marry any of these lovely daughters, and they would be stuck. Dad wanted to make sure that they got out the door. But he had no money. But Nicholas lived next door to the man. And he heard about what was going on, and he decided to help him out. So one night, as the father fell asleep saying his prayers, for he was asking God to help him, Nicholas crept up, opened the window of the house, and tossed in a bag of gold. And when he woke up, the father said, "Wow!" And he immediately arranged for the marriage of his first daughter. He prayed, thanks be to God. But the father said, "I have 2 more lovely daughters." So the next night, the father fell asleep again. He prayed to the Lord. And once more, Nicholas crept up to the window, opened it, and tossed in a second bag of gold. "Woo-wee," the father said. And the next day, the second daughter was married and out the door. Well, the third daughter was still there, and the father said, "You know, dear God, I have 1 more lovely daughter." So the next night, old St. Nick crept up with a bag of gold, but the father pretended to be asleep. He wanted to know what was happening and how he was getting this gold. So when the third bag of gold came through the window, the father jumped up and he chased St. Nicholas until he caught him. And he said, thank you, kind sir, for your generosity. Now I can give my third most beautiful daughter in marriage. How can I repay you? How can I thank you? And Nicholas said, you don't need to repay me. My gift was from my heart. I knew your need. We humans are funny. Sometimes when another person is cut, we bleed. I'm only doing what Jesus did for us and told us to do, to love one another. Well, with that, the father spread the news about Nicholas and told the story many, many, many times. So that's the first story about Nicholas. And here's just a picture that you can see that sort of tells that story, the three daughters and the man, and there's Nicholas. Very, very much blessing the man. So maybe we could pass that around too if you want to. You don't have to. Now, I'm going to tell you another story, and it's on this particular picture here. Can you see that picture? Can you tell me what's going on in that picture? What's going on?
He's helping the sailor's boat so it doesn't sink.
He's helping some sailors. That's right. That's right. He's on the boat, and he's helping some sailors. So you can take a look at that. Yes? And he's older. That's right. He's older in that picture. So, let me tell you about some certain sailors who were on the sea, and it was like a windy day. Like today, notice how windy it was out there? And they were battling the winds, and their vessel, the boat they were in, was going every which way. And they were on their way to the town where Nicholas was the bishop. Do you remember the name of that town? Myra, yes. Not Palmyra, but just plain old Myra. So as they were sailing and they were having all of this trouble, Nicholas, who was on the boat, he was going back home to Myra. And these were really tough sailors. And he was praying and asking God to make sure that they would be safe on the water. And the water started to roll over the top of the boat. And it used to go pitch back and forth and back and forth. I'm starting to get a little back and forth. Until it was so wild on the boat they couldn't stand it anymore. And they turned to Nicholas and they said, "Help us! Pray to God for us! Stop the storm!" And Nicholas prayed. He said, "Oh God, swamped in this hurricane, we call upon you to help us, to drive away the wind and calm the sea." And as the story goes, the wind calmed, the seas calmed, and they were okay. That's the second great story about Nicholas. Now, here's a third story about Nicholas. And can you tell me what you see in that? What do you see in that?
He now is an old man.
He really is an old man in this picture, yes. What's going on?
He kind of looks like he's big.
He's big. Yes, he is. Yes?
Kind of looks like he's trying to catch the water.
Looks like he's trying to catch the water. Oh, there looks like water coming down from the cloud, you mean? Okay. Do you see what's down right in front of that? They look like a little bit like garbage cans or whatever. What are they? You know? That is bread. That's bread in a basket. And that's the third story I want to tell you about. So, this was when he was much older. And so there came about in the land a famine. Famine. There was no food available. People were starving. They were really hungry. And into the harbor, into the place where the boats came a boat loaded with wheat, with grain, going somewhere else. And Nicholas came down and he prayed that he would have the strength to go to the people on this boat. And he did. And he said, please, for the love of God and the love of these people, help me to feed them. Well, at first they said no. These belong to somebody else. But Nicholas prayed, and the people on the boat could see that Nicholas was a man of faith. And so they ended up giving the wheat to the people in Myra so that they could eat. It was food. It was a gift. Now, I know you know something about feeding and gifts here at St. Peter's, right? You feed people, right? You have a program called what? Full Tummies. And what's today? First Sunday of the month. It's a full tummy Sunday, right? People are going to bring their gifts of food to help those who are without it. I have to tell you, I forgot the name of the program this week, and you know what I thought it was named? I thought it was Yummy Tummies. But I'm glad I got that right when I got here this morning. You would have wondered what I was talking about. I'm losing my hat here. Anyhow, those are the three stories about Nicholas. And in every one of those stories, and here's a picture of Nicholas, more like a Santa Claus picture, because he's got a bag of toys and he's giving them away. You can see them? Yeah, and there's stockings hung by the chimney. So today we remember St. Nicholas. And we remember that he was a man who had deep faith, and he believed strongly that giving was better than. We're all excited about Christmas coming, but this is still Advent. And Advent is when we remember that we received the greatest gift of all. That would be Jesus. Thanks be to God. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're welcome.